Hi. So, I'm a little upset today because I'm finishing up my counseling theories class and she failed me. She failed me because I used Myers-Briggs in my counseling theories. She says that Myers-Briggs is a diagnostics tool and not used in therapy. I base my therapy off Freud's psychoanalysis, Carl Jung's cognitive theory, which developed into, and I explain this in my paper, that Freud's psychoanalysis, Carl Jung did work on that, and then Myers-Briggs continued all that work into personality theory. And then I would base my therapy style off of finding out their personality type, treating them with psychoanalysis, and when I treat them with psychoanalysis, it will be detailed to their personality type. Like I put in one of my papers, when dealing with an ISFJ, they were having one of the counselors was talking about how she was having a hard time dealing with this mother who would not bond with her foster child because all she wanted him to do was her homework. He's an AB student and he's overachiever, but she doesn't care about that. She's like, well, you did good today, or you did good this week, but you still didn't do your homework. She's letting something so trivial and so stupid as homework to stop her from bonding with this child. So I said, that's because she's an ISFJ. ISFJs aren't going to want to talk about the past, and they're going to want to, they have specifics. She says if this foster child wants to be a part of our family, he'll do exactly what I say. He'll do his homework. She will hold back him being a part of the family because of some stupid homework. My therapy style would be based off of trying to work with an ISFJ, knowing that they cannot get over that one thing. And the fact that, they're dedicated in the counselor told them, she says, well, she tells this son, she's had this foster son for 3 years, she won't give him back to the foster home because she says she's committed to him, but she's still letting this homework stand in the way. Well, guess what? That's because it's her personality type. Now, they're also not going to want to talk about the past. So you can't just get them to sit down and do talk therapy and get them to talk about the past because, once again, the counselor said she avoids it. Well, of course she avoids it because she's an ISFJ. They avoid talking about the past. You pull in the ISFJ and we'll talk all about the past. We'll bring it all up. We don't care. That's all we talk about. We're the opposite. So that's one reason why the ISFJ and the ESFJ have a hard time getting along, is because we want to talk about the past. We want to settle the past. They want to say, no, let's not talk about the past. Let's just move forward. And I want you to do this. And it's like, okay, but I don't want to do this, and either and so my therapy is built off the style of Myers-Briggs, and I'm not going to even use Myers-Briggs as a diagnostics tool. I use talk therapy as my diagnostics tool. During talk therapy, I'll be able to diagnose their cognitive functions and choices that will tell me their personality type. Forgive me, I'm a little sick. My throat's a little dry. So I write all this in my paper, and she gave me an F because she does not like that I'm using Myers-Briggs. She does not see Myers-Briggs as a way because this is the thing. No therapist uses Myers-Briggs in their office as far as I know. No therapist, and especially no published therapist, sits there and says, I cured somebody from learning out their Myers-Briggs personality type, and I used this theory along with Myers-Briggs, and I cured them and helped them with their personality. Nobody. But I want to pioneer that field. But I can't pioneer that field when my teachers are failing me because I won't conform and write a paper on their theory when I use her theory. I use psychoanalysis. But I tied it in to my practice, which she asked for. She asked how I would treat patients. And I said I would use Myers-Briggs, and instead of calling the patient by their name, well, I didn't know her name either, I just knew she was a female, and a few small details about her, like she's been married for 10 years, and a few small details. But I called her an ISFJ through the whole paper. Well, I didn't thoroughly explain to him an ISFJ. Well, this paper is a minimum, has to be 1,000 words. Yeah, okay, so you want me to explain to you what an ISFJ is at the same time having to write 1,000 words? You tell me on some papers that you want a minimum of 5 pages, but not over 8 pages. If I have to explain to you what an ISFJ is, and you don't want to go to my links and understand what an ISFJ is, you want me to tell you? Well, I can't do that because that's going to take way more than 8 pages to answer every question you want me to in the detail you want me to, plus answer the detail of you what an ESFJ is, an ISFJ, an INTJ, whatever it is I wrote in that paper, because I wrote a little bit about an ESFJ. She didn't like it. She told me I had a great start to my paper. She liked half of my paper, and then she got down to where I incorporated Myers-Briggs into it. That's where she stopped liking my paper. So I failed this class because I am bound by her opinion of my paper. And I've never failed a psychology class at Argosy yet. I have never failed one. All of my other teachers, and I even had one teacher that told me she didn't totally agree with the style I wrote on, but because I was so well versed in my theory, she gave me an A on my paper. Just for the sole fact that I knew what I was talking about. She didn't know exactly what I was talking about, but at least I did. And I told my teacher that. I said, and she wrote me back and said, I know you think you deserve a good grade, but, I wanted this from you and you didn't give me this. So I didn't conform because school is all about conformity. And that's one reason why I want to transfer out of Argosy and go to Westminster, is because Westminster is a school that prides themselves on the artistic views of things. And it's really hard being an artist and a psychologist at the same time because artists aren't about conformity. We're about just whatever it takes, whatever it is we want to express. And an ESFJ makes a really good artist and psychologist because we care about people and we want to help people, but also on the other hand, we are very creative and we want to impact people emotionally. We're that really strong F-type that everything we do has to impact people emotionally. So I'm really upset right now because now I'm going to owe $1,600 for this class. I already owe the school $4,000 to get my bachelor's degree. And now, because she doesn't like that I use Myers-Briggs in my theory, because I did use psychoanalysis like she asked me to. I used cognitive theory like she asked me to. But I also used I ran my paper by my husband last night. He said it didn't merit an F. There's no way that paper merited an F. I answered the questions. Some of them I did answer them shorter than she would have liked. Yeah, I did. I didn't give her references because she gave me an F on my last paper because I used stuff like Simple Psychology and my personality page, and they're not. One of my teachers about a year and a half ago was kind of funny. They told me you didn't use facts. They said if you go to Google, there's a certain Google that does facts only, and any link you get off there is a fact. So I wrote my paper on Chuck Norris facts. I said, let me give you some facts. And I wrote this 3-page paper, 3 or 4-page paper on Chuck Norris facts because they're called Chuck Norris facts. They're called facts. So she told me she wanted me to find things that are facts. That's factual. I wrote this huge paper on Chuck Norris facts. And I said, this is a fact. People call this a Chuck Norris fact. But here's the real thing. This is why it's not a fact. Because this is the truth about Chuck Norris, He's not God. Chuck Norris isn't God. But it's a fact that Chuck Norris is a God. I mean, everybody talks it. These Chuck Norris, if you type in Chuck Norris facts, you will find a million facts that call him God and a superhero and all these things. But they're not true, but they are called facts. And so it was kind of funny. That teacher was, this is a good teacher. She gave it back to me. And she says, I'm going to give you one more try on this paper. And she said, I'm not going to accept this, but I'm not going to give you, she just shot it back at me and said, redo this paper. But I got my opinion out there of, okay, you want facts? I'll give you facts. I'll give you Chuck Norris facts. Me and my INTJ actually wrote up that paper together. He found it extremely hilarious what I did. That's one thing that makes the INTJ interesting, is because the INTJ is so kind of intellectual, sophisticated, and logical. If you bounce something off of them that is an emotional ESFJ, I can bounce them off him and he'll tell me if it's stupid or not. And I really trust the NT types when it comes to bouncing facts and stuff off them and saying, hey, this is the idea I have. You're an NT type. You're a very logical type. I'm not a very logical type because I'm a very strong SF type. And my INTJ found that paper extremely hilarious and funny, but factual. I mean, I chose 3 Chuck Norris facts. I took those facts and I wrote on them. She wanted facts, I gave her facts. I mean, but that's how I am. That's the artist in me. I don't conform easy, because there is no such thing. A theory is not a fact. A theory is a theory. A theory is an idea that hasn't been proven yet, but it hasn't been disproved. See, the purpose of a theory is to keep running it until it gets disproved. And it will always stay a theory until it's disproved. And eventually, maybe 20 years down the road, a theory can get disproved. But up until that 20-year mark where it got disproved, looking back on hindsight, it was a credible theory. There is no such thing as an exact credible theory. When Freud started his work, a lot of people hated his work. But guess what branched off of Freud's work? Cognitive theory, dream therapy, all kinds of stuff branched off Freud's psychoanalysis. To this day, everybody kind of jokes about, when you watch a cartoon, back in the day, you see the cartoon characters that have the little devil and the little angel. Well, guess what that's called? That's Freud's theory of the id, the ego, and the superego. The id is the angel, the ego is you, and the superego is the devil. And what happens is, the devil and the angel, with a healthy psyche, your ego is in charge, and the devil and the angel have to run things past you, and they fight. And you choose whether you go with yours, the id, or the superego. And so, to this day, even cartoons use Freud's therapy in cartoons. As you're young, you're conditioned to, you don't know it when you're young because nobody sits down and tells you, guess what, you're watching a cartoon and it's kind of poking fun at Freud's theory of the id, the superego, and the ego. And an unhealthy psyche would be one that the superego constantly runs, or the ids. So like when you see those really super religious people out there that everything has to run past their religion, and they seem a little out there because all they do is everything. Those are people who run off their id, and their ego and their superego standing back there going, whoa, wait a second, and they don't listen to them. They're running off that id. That's not a healthy psyche, and vice versa. You got the little devil, the super ego that just wants to party and have. My favorite explanation of it is if you watch The Emperor's New Groove, and the devil's like, rock on, and they're so cute. I like it where the super ego gets up there and he's like, I can do a push up with one hand or something. I can't remember exactly what he did in the movie, and the angel turned to him and said, well, I can't do that, so yeah, go ahead, he's pretty cool, So that's an unhealthy psyche, is when that superego gets to run everything. But then you see him but he has a healthy psyche, because you see him actually, the ones who can get both them to pop away and run off your ego, that's a healthy psyche to take advice from each one of them, but the ego has to choose it. The ego has to sort it out. And so, I mean, Freud pioneered a lot of things, but he was not popular. Everybody called him the sexual psychologist, and everybody's like, ew, he just wants to talk about sex. And at the time that Freud was around, sex was still that unforgivable thing. It was the time of the Scarlet Letter, where they're gonna they're gonna brand an A on your chest for But Freud pioneered a time when psychologists would listen and understand that sex ran a lot of who we are in the 5 sexual stages. Freud wrote on those. Freud was a huge pioneer in, you know how many people and other psychologists turned on Freud and said, even Carl Jung eventually turned on Freud. But was Freud wrong? No. He pioneered something great. Well, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to pioneer a great therapy that runs off of these 16 personality types, because I think the key to healing your life is for you to understand your personality type and who you are, and not because you took the Myers-Briggs test and you think that's who you are. Because I've seen people take the Myers-Briggs test and they've come out something that I've diagnosed differently. And the reason why, and especially I've noticed this, I have a lot of friends that have disabilities. I have found the hardest thing to do is to give a person with a disability the test of Myers-Briggs, because Myers-Briggs assumes that you are a healthy, normal person without any disability to counteract your personality type. And so I find it really easy to use Myers-Briggs test on the internet as a way to hit the ground running, but not as the sole factual, you are this. And that's why sometimes people don't like me when I get online and say, no, you're not an INTJ just because the test said so. I've lived with an INTJ for 13 years now. I know half of his friends, he gravitates towards INTJs because they're smart like him. He currently works with an INTJ and an INFJ, and I'm getting to know these personality types really well because they're around me in my everyday life. I would love to be and meet around the other 10 that I don't know, because I want to get to that point as a psychologist where you step into my office and within the first couple sessions, I know your personality type. We're going to work on it. I'm not going to make you change your personality type. I'm going to make you help come to terms with how your personality makes you feel and how you can, sometimes you can like as an ESFJ, there's a lot of times I have to override my natural feelings as an SF, and especially as an E. And watching Ally McBeal and watching 2 ESFJs, a non-confident one and a confident one, kind of work their way through a world has kind of helped me out a little bit to say, you know what? Maybe I should just hum a tune in my head when I feel like talking and over-talking. Maybe I should just start, so that, because people do get embarrassed in a crowd when I just talk and talk and talk. But maybe if I took some cues from Ally McBeal and had that song in my head and my heart at all times, maybe I'd feel less likely like I had to talk, and then that's the less likely chance I say something stupid. I'm not there to change your personality type. I'm there to help you handle your problems and recognize your cognitive process that you go through when you're trying to deal with those problems, and change what you need to change. Because you can use something for many, many years, but until you actually, maybe sometimes when you finally read that owner's manual, you're like, oh my gosh, I never knew this feature was there. And that's what I want my therapy to be like. I want it to be like, I give you the owner's manual and help you understand those. Like, when you have a contract, you don't just read the contract and understand it. You get a lawyer. Okay? Sometimes you need somebody to help you read that owner's manual and understand it. And there are going to be personality types with, like the ISFJs, that are going to be hard to work with. You can't just write in a paper, and that's probably the unpopular opinion too. You can't just write in a paper going, well, I'm going to tell her to do this with, because you know what, that other psychologist already tried to tell her to start baking with her son and doing activities with her son, with their foster son, and then maybe, just maybe, that would foster some good feeling. But no, an ISFJ, like I said, they get deep-seated in their judgments, and it's hard for them to overcome them. So a therapist needs to sit there and help unseat those. And therapy will end when that ISFJ can come to terms with they have been harboring and get that out. Just get it out. And a therapist is a safe place to, because you can talk about the past to us and we're not going to chastise you for it. We're going to help you work through it. Therapy is not all about changing you and your personality type. My therapy is about pioneering a way to work with those 16 different personality types and make a much healthier psyche for you, that you can still be that personality type, you can be confident in that personality type, and make those good decisions on your own, and decide when that id and that superego is down there telling you what to do, and that superego is telling you already have this judgment about that person, and keep with it and roll with it because what you feel is correct. Your ego needs to learn to sit there and say, you know what, we need to change that. That's not honestly what I want. I've had my mother-in-law tell me, well, I want to paint with you and stuff because she's into drawing and painting and she's an artist too. But she's allowing that deep-seated judgment to hold her back from actually coming over to me and just sitting down and painting with me and having a good time. She won't have that good time with me because when she gets near me, we have that tension between us. It is there, and I can feel it emanating. It's like that saying, you can cut the tension with a knife. It's there. It's anybody who can feel it, can see it. I can walk into a room and recognize vibes, and that's a good and a bad thing because not everybody wants to hear about the vibes that you feel in the room. And I really want to pioneer this field. But the problem is, back in Freud's day, you didn't always need a college degree to pioneer a field. But I can't pioneer this field without a college degree. I can't get a college degree. I mean, I guess I could conform and do exactly what they want me to, and maybe I shouldn't put my opinions of... I mean, she asked my opinion. She asked how I wanted to run my therapy. I told her. She didn't agree with it. She failed me. She doesn't think... She says Myers-Briggs is a diagnostics tool. Well, you know what? It's a diagnostics tool because nobody has ever taken it beyond. And it's not even a diagnostics tool. You don't go into a therapist's office and they give you the test. You don't. You do the test on your own if you want to. And there's people out there that say, well, I don't need to take this personality test because I don't need to be put into a box or a category. Well, guess what? You're that personality whether you want to realize it or not. And when I realize what your personality type is, I can work with you. When I'm around, a lot of INTJs, you know that they look at looks, but they also look at intelligence. They want a beautiful woman that's intelligent. I'm working on being that. I probably have more intelligence than beauty, but that's sad to say because, I don't know. I'm working on it because I don't want to sound too stupid and emotional when I'm around my husband and his friends. But I also am very opinionated, which I don't think they like and that's where I'm having the trouble with my teacher. I told my husband, watch that, I bet you she's like an ISFJ or something, and I just pissed her off because I just wrote a paper telling her the problem with this woman is because she's an ISFJ. Note that you're not going to make any grounds with her right away. Because I guess I could write a fairy tale paper and say, well, I used psychoanalysis on her, we did talk therapy, and after about 50 sessions, she came to some realizations, we worked on it, and now her and her son have a great relationship. But instead I told the truth upon to which, if she's not going to want to talk about the past, which they're very hard to get them to talk about the past, they just want to say, let's just move on. But they still harbor those feelings, so you're going, how can we move on when you harbor those feelings? We need to talk about it. So I'm a little down right now because I can do all of the YouTube I want. I can do all the work I want with my friends and family. But I'm not going to get to be that therapist, and I'm not going to get out there, and I'm not going to pioneer this field if I can't pass a dumb college course. And now I know her name, and if I ever see her name pop up in any more of my courses, I got 3 more courses left. Because I got to retake this course now. After I pay for it, I got to retake it. And then I got to pay for that class too. Because here's the sad part. I got to pay for this one. I'm out of funding. I got to pay for it again too to retake it. So now I owe $3,000 to this course. So now I owe a total of $7,000 if I want to get my bachelor's degree. And I don't know. So basically I'm at a standstill until I come up with $7,000. I'm not going to get to go to my master's degree and become that therapist. And I want to get it in mental health counseling because I think that's where the psychoanalysis and stuff would apply, is in mental health therapy, not exactly. It'll apply in marriage and family also. It will. Because I believe that once you understand your significant other's personality type and you learn to work with them, I believe that this Myers-Briggs has only been slightly tapped into, and it has so much potential. But there's got to be a psychologist brave enough to stand up and say Myers-Briggs has potential, to write books on it, to pioneer this field, and to show it works. But I can't show it works if I can't pass school because it's not popular. So I guess when I retake this course, I gotta do exactly, I can't answer the questions to the truthfulness, and that's hard for an ESFJ to say, well, I can't be truthful on this paper because you need me to conform to pass this class. So I guess I gotta suppress who I am and what I want to do, despite that that's what they're asking me. They're asking me stuff like, what are some of your own personal motivations and characteristics that may help or hinder you in counseling? What areas of your own personal and professional development need most development? I'm talking about, I'm trying to, they do have, it costs almost $3,000 to get certified as a Myers-Briggs. I have to travel to San Diego and pay $3,000 to get trained and certified to be a therapist that can use Myers-Briggs. I plan on doing that. But things that hold me up are stuff like money and being able to travel to San Diego. Well, explain at least 2 techniques you would use in your treatment and describe how you would integrate these techniques into a therapy session. When I tell her, I guess I should just say, I'm just going to use psychoanalysis and watch them talk and use free word association and this is how I guess I should just answer, straight up and not actually told her the truthfulness of, I would use talk therapy, move it into cognitive therapy, into Myers-Briggs, and round it back around to talk therapy. And then I would float in between that right there. I'm not going to just use talk therapy. I'm going to be sitting there using talk therapy based on Myers-Briggs, based on Carl Jung, based on Kiersey. And she's also mad at me because I didn't tell her exactly who Kiersey was. I used Kiersey's name without explaining it, but I don't know. She asked me to write to her no more than 8 pages. So you want me to explain Myers-Briggs, you want me to explain Kiersey, you want me to explain all this, but you want me to do it within 8 papers. And also answer these 8 questions you just asked me. So, and then she gets mad at me for also writing on my opinion. Well, you just asked me, do you think therapists should focus on becoming an expert in one particular counseling approach, or should they become proficient in, where is that not asking my opinion? Explain at least 2 techniques. Where is that not asking my opinion on my techniques? Identify 3 most important characteristics of a successful counselor you consider to be. Where is that not asking my opinion on, there's so many characteristics that a counselor needs. Where is it not asking my opinion on the 3 characteristics? It's an opinion paper she's asking of me, then she docks me points for giving my opinion. And she based also my opinions off of Myers-Briggs because she says Myers-Briggs is a diagnostics tool. I'm sorry that you feel that Myers-Briggs is only a diagnostics tool and that you do not see the potential. Myers-Briggs only went as far as to give these personality types and to come up with that wonderful 72 questionnaire. But they didn't take it any further than that. But they pioneered this. They pioneered and I want to be, when you think of Freud, pioneered psychoanalysis and cognitive therapy. Carl Jung carried it on. Myers-Briggs continued their work. Well, I want to continue Myers-Briggs' works. And I want to pioneer further into personality theory and therapy. I want to start personality therapy. I want to pioneer this. I can't pioneer it, though, without a degree nowadays. They don't just let you be a therapist because you can do the work and you prove that you can. I have to get my degree. Right now, my degree's at a hold on $7,000 now because my school does not give a damn that I'm trying to fight for at least a C. Fine, give me at least a C, a passing grade. Ruin my GPA. Westminster wants me to hold down that 3.0. I tried really hard to hold down that 3.0, but I ran into one snobby teacher. I looked her up. I looked her up. I Googled her. I'm not going to even give my opinion of... She's wrote so many books on psychology and therapy and counseling that, I mean, I guess... her opinion, maybe if I had quoted her stupid books, maybe she would have liked me. Maybe if I had kissed her ass a little bit. But see, I'm not that kind of person. I'm not that personality type. You're not going to get me to do that. I believe in what's fair. I believe in what's right. I believe in what's just. And I believe in my theories. And I believe that my theories are right and just and fair and will work. I want to be on that chain from Freud to Jung to Myers-Briggs. Then Gore, I guess. Oh, I hate that last name. That's so not a cool last name. But I want to be on that lineup so when people draw that line and say this person carried on that person's work, they're going to say Rose Gore carried on the works of Myers-Briggs. She took their works and because Myers-Briggs right now is a wonderful works, but it has not tapped into its potential. There's so much potential for Myers-Briggs, but people are not seeing that potential. They're just diagnosing themselves and getting on Facebook and getting on talking about, oh, I'm this personality type, but they're not understanding it, so they're asking stupid questions about it. And they seem stupid to me just because I'm so advanced in it that it's just like that's the wrong question to ask. Just like when my mother-in-law asked my husband, so how are you doing in your hobby? He actually blew her off, and I was like, and I answered the question for him. And she got mad that I answered the question for him, but she didn't notice that he just thought that her question was dumb. It was valid to her. It was valid to me because I called it a hobby and spoke on her level when I spoke to her about Dawn's Forge. I called it a hobby and spoke on her level, and then she spoke on her level to him. And that doesn't cut it with him. He thought that question was really dumb, and he just, a hobby. And I was like, dude, Dawn, that was so rude what you just did. And so basically I stepped in and answered the question on Dawn's level so that he could answer her on his level, because I connected their levels, because I was just like, you just spoke to an INTJ in a way that they thought was stupid, and they're never going to answer your question. If they think you're stupid. You're not stupid. He thinks you're stupid. There's a huge difference. You're not stupid. He just thought your question was. So don't get mad at me for translating the language of an INTJ to an ISFJ. That's all I did. I translated the language. I didn't mean to come off rude. I just wanted to be that. I have to be that middle ground between Don and his mom, because a lot of things that he's not an NT type and a strong NT type and a strong SF type. They're not always on the same level. Maybe I shouldn't have called it a hobby. It was my bad. But I was trying to get her to realize that Don started this forge. All he wants is his dad and his brothers to come play in the forge with him, but they don't want to because they just, there's something holding each one of them back. I'm not going to even talk on YouTube about it. But anyways, this is my frustration right now is I failed a class because she doesn't see Myers-Briggs as anything to use in therapy. She doesn't see it as a valid therapy. But it is my theory that Myers-Briggs has more potential than people are giving it. It is my theory that it can be used in counseling to heal people, right alongside with psychoanalysis. I think psychoanalysis and Myers-Briggs goes hand in hand. I would like to someday be sitting in that chair and that person on that couch and prove that it works with one patient after the other. But somehow I gotta figure out how to get through school. I don't know how to. Like I said, the hardest other part about going through school and going through college is it's up to the teacher's opinion. If you understood the course and you properly translated that to them and they feel that you get to pass that class. She feels right now, because I'm using Myers-Briggs, that I don't deserve a passing grade. So I failed this course. And I'm pretty pissed off about it. So sorry this video is so long, but this is probably the biggest rant I have is I have never, ever had, I got A's in my maladaptive behavior course, and I can show you my transcripts. I don't fail psychology. I don't fail in these courses. I have A's and B's. I'm a 3.0 student. I'm over a 3.0 student. I'm right on track to go to Westminster, and she just ruined it. She ruined my 3.0. She killed my 3.0. Even if she would give me a C, I would have to work really hard to bring that above that 3.0, to maintain that 3.0 in my last 3 classes that I have. But I have never failed a psychology course, and I have never failed it, and I've always used Myers-Briggs in my psychology courses. And at the beginning of this course, I wrote my discussion questions on Myers-Briggs. I got props from other students, and especially one other that uses Myers-Briggs. And then I use it in a paper and she fails me. Actually, she didn't even grade one of my discussions. I'm a little mad at that. She's slacking as a teacher. She's supposed to call me in the first week of school and get to know me. She didn't. She didn't answer my emails. She didn't do her part except for read my paper and give me an F on it. She doesn't know who I am. She hasn't met me in person. This is one reason why I hate online college. Had this been in an actual class, things might have been different, because things are different. Teachers don't get to know you online. They don't get to see, they get to read the paper you type out and then guess who you are. And you know what, if somebody typed me a paper, it'd be really hard for me to tell them who their personality type was. But that's why I encourage people to Skype with me, talk to me. I'll tell you what your personality type is, in my opinion. And I really trust my opinion just because I've been through so much of this in real life that I'm actually doing really good in my real life analysis that, you know, but I can't do it off of you write me a paper, I can't do it off of that. But that's why they don't do therapy over the phone. So anyways, thanks for listening to my rant if you watched it. Myers-Briggs is a real thing that its potential has only slightly been tapped into. I want to pioneer the field that actually breaks open that little oil well that Myers-Briggs is. It's only squirting out a little bit of oil, and only to a certain amount of group. But I can tap into it. I can tap into it, and I can make it. I can make it the biggest thing in this world. It'll be the new form of therapy. People will look up to me. I want to be writing books and going on seminars and pioneering this and showing psychologists a new way. I mean, I was watching a show the other day, and I don't know if it's true or not, but they were talking about how at one time brain surgery, people thought that was insane. At one time, the world was flat. Thinking that it was round, That's how America accidentally got found. They thought it was round. Or they thought it was flat. He thought that he could just take a shortcut to Spain, Christopher Columbus. He didn't know that he was going to hit an unknown continent. Because at one time, the Americas did not exist. At one time, only the Catholic Church ruled, and those are called the Dark Ages, when we had no technology and the Catholic Church was the only thing that ruled. King Henry stopped the Catholic Church from ruling England over a selfish situation, but, I mean, he did it. I mean, at one time there used to be absolutes in this world, but we are changing those. And in the last 100 years, 100 years ago, we just barely even made the first Model T Ford. 100 years ago, 103 years ago, the first Model T Ford came off the assembly line. And there was no such thing as an assembly line 100 years ago. Henry Ford pioneered mechanics and cars and assembly lines. 200 years ago, planes weren't flying. Look how far we've come in 200 years because somebody defied the odds. Somebody saw potential in something. Somebody saw potential in lightning and tapped into lightning. Why can't I tap into Myers-Briggs potential? Why does this teacher got to shoot me down for pioneering something new? Because I didn't write a conformity paper? Because I was honest and true and said, you asked me, explain at least 2 techniques you would use in your treatment and describe how you would integrate these techniques into a therapy session. I described psychoanalysis, cognitive theory, and Myers-Briggs. I integrated those 3 into each other. I showed exactly how I was going to use them through the whole paper and ended with it. I'm sorry she didn't like it. I don't think I deserve an F for it. Alright, well, thanks for listening to my rant. I know this rant is going on for too long, but I have a passion about this and I am pissed about it. I am so pissed that my life hangs on her grade that she's going to give me, which is going to be an F. Because even if she graded my last 4 assignments at 100%, each of them, it would be, I'd get a score of 706 out of 1,000. Which means I would barely make a C-. So if she even docked me 7 points, I would get a D. So basically, I've come to the realization I'm not going to pass this class. I'm not finishing my last 2 assignments. I'm not going in there because she's not going to give me 100% on my Module 4 paper. She hasn't graded that yet, but it's just like Module 3 and Module 5 that she gave me an F on. And you can get an F on 1 and only 1 paper in the 5 courses. You get an F on 2, you're screwed. You get an F on 3, there's your grade. It's gone. And I know she's going to give me an F on 4. So I know there's no way she's going to grade my last 4 assignments at 100% and give me that C-. Because she's too stubborn. Alright, thanks.